So anytime you want to start your din. Oh, Danny boy.
Good.
There we go.
Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Firing Line Radio Show. This is Philip Naiman. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. One of my favorite news sources I like to watch all the time is Epic Times, and they have a great host there, Joshua Phillips, and he always has the tea of the day. Well, I don't drink tea, and my coffee is pretty much the same every single day, so we can't do that. So what I thought I would do is, if you're watching along on our YouTube channel, we'll have the gun of the month. So on the wall behind me here, you'll see an 1886 Winchester replica. It's actually made by Peter Soley. They do a great job on it, but the 1886, folks, is a fantastic lever action, different from the 76 and 73 because it has a double lug locking system. So it could actually handle the 4570. So this is the real gun that won the West, right? 1894, by the time the beautiful 1894 lever action came around, the West was done. This one was the workhorse with the big 4570 slugs going down range. And anyway, Peter Soley makes a great rendition of it. Very beautiful, great finish on it. And of course, if you can buy an original Winchester, then hats off to you. You're doing great there. But we're going to do the Gun of the Month Club. So this month is the Peter Soley's. I think Cimarron actually brings them in. But anyway, the Peter Soley 1886 4570 lever action, an amazing rifle for all time, not just its time. Okay, joining me here, folks, I have Rob High from CCW Safe. CCW Safe is the legal protection you need if you ever end up in trouble or the wrong end of a shooting, actually even the right end of a defensive use of your life. And that's why we're talking about this today. We've had quite a few things happen out here in California. Everybody has seen the video clip in Norco, California, just a few minutes down the road from where I'm sitting right now. An 80-year-old owning I believe he was a store owner of a convenience store, just sitting behind the counter and having a good day. And 3 or 4 punks come in, fully loaded and ready for bear, except they thought they were, but they ended up not being so. And so here you have a gentleman who just has his own life going on, minding his own business in his own property, and the bad guys show up. Now, Rob, did you have a chance to see that clip?
I don't think I've seen that one, no.
So this is the one where the kid comes in with an AR-15 kid. When the puke comes in with an AR-15 and says, "Show me your hands, put your hands up," tries to play Call of Duty. And
I did see that. I did see this, and the old man is kind of tucked behind the corner on the counter.
Yep.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, one shotgun blast later, the guy's screaming out the door. He's, it's like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack. Hey, broke my arm, shut my arm off. I just, unbelievable what we're dealing with out here. We have a governor who wants to be your president, folks. Listen to that out there. He wants to be your president. He has destroyed this state. He's released over 70,000 felons early under the guise of COVID. We have super predators out here roaming our streets, committing the vast majority of all felonies. They don't go back into jail. George Soros has bought some DAs. They're just the law enforcement. You cannot count on it. Even if the police catch the guy, the fact that he may not do any time at all or the possibility that he may not do any time at all is huge. So criminals are cowards. They're not brilliant. Right? I mean, some are brilliant and cowards, but they're pretty rare. They're like Lex Luthor. But the majority of the criminals we run into are bullies and cowards that have had their way. That's right, cowards, capital C, cowards, that have had their way. And when there isn't any repercussion for their behavior, they continue to escalate it, just like anything else. And that's what we have in our political system out here, is we don't have repercussion for bad behavior. lethal behavior where people are dying and getting hurt. They're not even, anyway, it's a sad state of affairs caused by Gavin Newsom and Becerra, who's working high in the Biden administration, and Bonta, who's out there trying to defeat our Second Amendment rights. So we have the responsibility and the right to defend ourselves. And you don't want to be out there making it up as you go along. And that's why, we've partnered with CCW Safe. They have great training. Every week, Rob and I do a CCW Safe podcast. We talk about these issues so people are prepared for what's going on. Just to give you a heads up, to make you think about a situation before emotion, right? Before emotion puts you in motion. So Rob, you want to talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, it's one of those things that we realized, the guys I work for, decades long friends of mine, and they recognized a need. As we were active law enforcement officers, we always had the protection of the city attorney's office. Unless there was negligence or wrongdoing, we had the support of the DA's office, the prosecutors. We had investigators and experts and chaplain services and peer support and all these things built in behind us, in the event that we were involved in a critical incident. And that can be anything. My first encounter with that was debriefs every day after working the scene at the Murrah bombing. And we understood
you actually were immediately graduated on the day of the Murrah bombing, right? That was your first day as a sworn officer.
We actually got activated from the academy. So yeah. Anyway, it was a wonderful learning process in the most horrific conditions. And then, one of our founders, our CEO, Mike Darter, was involved in an on-duty shooting. He was sued in federal court, and those things take forever to resolve. And after Mike exited law enforcement, he started thinking, what in the world, he was a very active police officer. He worked undercover assignments. He worked specifically targeting and hunting down gang members and violent felons. So there was lots of friends out there that had done these things, that had put away really bad people that weren't put away forever. And Mike sort of wondered, what in the world is out there for me as a guy that's separated from law enforcement now? He's out of the business and retired, and they came up with the idea that why don't we just do something like the FBA or FOP. I got FBI on my mind right now because
I don't know why. Is that them at the window? I see them at your door there.
Yeah. But the FOP model, the Fraternal Order of Police, or Police Benevolent Association, something like that, some police union that's in place that has all these things built. And instead of reinventing the wheel, we just determined, the best way forward is just build a civilian model of this thing. And the bonus with that is, with all the connections through his time working for ATF or working for the local PD or whatever, he had all these connections to all these great guys, and he really built the most solid team in the country for doing things like that. I mean, it's built on the FOP model, but you'd be hard pressed to find any FOP that could bring the support and defense that we've done, because we got the very best guys in the business to do it.
Exactly. And one of the most important things about this is the fact that if something were to happen, like we had one of the gentlemen I saw, there was like an 80-year-old a couple of days ago. He, not a couple of days, maybe it was a month and a half ago or so, he had to defend his life, right? And he's in the back of a police car. Now, we've talked about this many times before. If you're involved in a life or death situation, or even just defending your life, just plan on spending a day or two in the county while they sort things out. It's not right. It's just the way it is. So he's in the back of this police car. He hasn't been, as far as I could tell, debriefed or questioned by police. He has no legal counsel, and the media have the window halfway down, and they're shoving their cameras through, and they're making this guy talk. Now, and he's saying what he feels is correct, right? So we'll talk about that when we come back from this, but it's a trap. And the emotional dump that you get after a situation where you've had to defend yourself, even a fist fight, you get that emotional dump afterwards of adrenaline coming out of your body, just makes strange things happen. Anyway, we're going to talk about what happened with him and what to do in those situations and how to protect yourself and your family. Folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show here with Rob High, CCW Safe, ccwsafe.com. We'll be right back after this. Rob, you saw that where the cameras are, this old scruffy guy's in the back seat of his car. He goes, well, I shot him. Yep. It's like, well, geez, and
we'd have never allowed him that close.
Well, that's immediate, right? He's in the back of the car and they're shoving cameras in his face.
Yeah, we'd have had that guy out of the way. He'd have never been
as police officers.
They'd never had access to him.
Yeah. Well, that's California.
You need to be smart enough to say, hey, I need to talk with my attorney the minute
Well,
they
that's why we're talking. Well, but the media can ask you questions, right? They're not law
people
enforcement.
don't know, and they think you can trust the law enforcement,
or they think you can trust the media, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a whole other story.
That's true. Hi, I'm from the FBI. I'm here to help. All right. Whenever you're ready, 9:30 on this one, Danny.
Okay, here we go.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick.
That's right, folks. You know what? Talking about boomsticks, we had the gun of the month on the wall back here right now, but here's something else I want to talk about. I made a little improvement on my SIG 365. Now, obviously it's unloaded. Of course, all guns are unloaded, right? Obviously it's unloaded, but what I did is I went and I got the Wilson lower frame for it. Now, this is the XL frame by Wilson. What's different about the SIG XL frame is it's not just a bigger version of the micro frame. It actually is more oval. It's got some great ergonomics on it. I mean, the guys at Wilson do it right. And it's only like $60. Okay. So you can get the great upgrade on that. The frame size is the same length as the micro slide. So it doesn't add any overall length on this, but it gives you a great purchase. Now, because we're in California, the People's Republic of Occupied California, you still have to stick with a 10-round magazine. Well, this is the size of your 10-round magazine, and this is the size you need to use the XL frame. So here's one of the great things that California has caused nationwide. You guys out there in free America don't understand what we have to do out here to make things work. So this other company came out here, Tactical Shops. Anyway, they came out with a plug that allows me to use my 10-round magazines with an extension on the bottom in the new Wilson frame. Now, how cool is that? And that's like $10. So we can actually pretend like we're in free America with a real XP 365 with a nicer frame on it, and still be legal in this ridiculous state with a 10-round magazine. And I know that they may have the 10-round magazine rule going away, with some of the lawsuits that the California Rifle and Pistol Association have brought, and with the new ruling from the Supreme Court. But the sheriffs have said flat out they don't want any more than 10 rounds in a CCW magazine. So think about that. You may need to do it anyway because the sheriff has his own regulation. That's just a thing. So anyway, I ran into that. I made the switch. And those of you who personally know me, I physically created that frame put the safety magazine release in it, and I switched the bottom plates on those magazines by myself. So that tells you how simple that is. If I did it, anybody can do it, literally. And those who know me are shaking their heads going, yeah, if that idiot did it, this has got to be the easiest. It must do it itself, pretty much. That's the way that works. Anyway, happy about that. Just want to bring that up as long as we're talking about boomsticks. And this is my CCW piece that I do carry on a daily basis. And in doing so, I would never leave the door without understanding more about my responsibilities as somebody who's carrying a firearm. And that's why I have Rob here. Rob and I do our weekly CCW Safe podcast. We talk about the same things every time: training, discipline, awareness. When do you have the right to pull a weapon? And one of the things I think that people get into trouble with the most, Rob, help me out if I'm wrong here, is the improper presentation of a firearm. We'll call it that. How's that?
Yeah. Depending on where you're at, state by state, it can even be an aggravated assault, just displaying. Most people refer to it as brandishing. One of my favorite things when people start talking about, I'd do this or I'd do that. My question is, what would you do if you didn't have a gun? Because that's what you need to be doing. If you have other options available, that's the other option. That's the way out. You're talking about the training and all the other things. We also talk about de-escalation and disengagement, which if I'm not there, that's the safest form for me ever. You and I also discuss it's such a big deal to me that I have this freedom and this right to be able to carry a firearm, but I have that huge responsibility and the weight of carrying that gun that goes with it. So my line is always, if you're going to carry a firearm, you need to learn how to just check your emotions. The gun goes on, the emotions go off.
Let's talk about that topic, right? In the academy, I'm sure this is a subject that is taught very, very well, or gone over time and time and time again, right? Maybe hours worth of repeating about that particular mantra. You buy a firearm at the store, you don't get that training. It's not, the last thing you saw was John Wick 3. So, people have a different mindset, and it's important. It's on us as citizens, as armed citizens. It's on us to self-regulate. And that's the important part of that, is knowing when you could. I think you made a great point there about what would you do if you didn't have a gun? Is leaving the best option? Yeah. I hope you're not wearing flip-flops because you're going nowhere fast, but that's a whole nother discussion. It's important that you recognize something early and do your best to defeat it before it happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't carry it so I can force my will on somebody else. I carry it so that somebody else can't force their will on me. I'm never the offensive guy on this, not ever. Unless I come up on a deal like the Indiana mall shooting. I just happen to be out for the day, and we're hanging out in the food court. I got my girlfriend with me, and all of a sudden some idiot pops out with a long gun and multiple magazines, and he just starts shooting innocent civilians. Yeah, right then. And in that situation, for me, I don't feel like I have the choice. I have the means and the opportunity and the skill set to address that threat, and I'm going to.
Plus, you already had your shot timer on your hip, so that helps.
But it's just one of those that there's so many factors that go into that. How much prep time you do just before you go for a hunt. It's not just a throw my gun in the sack and we're going to drive out to the mountains and yeehaw. There's a lot of work and preparation that go into that. There's planning and practice and maintenance. There's just so many factors that are built into that. So
Exactly. And training is the key. I mean, matter of fact, I'm on the wait list tomorrow for a shooting match that I thought I was going to be able to get in on, and a wait list. So I think that's a good thing that guys are out there shooting more now, right? But you have to be involved in training. And the brandishing thing, let's go through that real quick here. What would be when is displaying a firearm not the right thing to do, in your opinion? That's not legal terms, but in your opinion, from what you've seen as an officer for many, many years and at CCW Safe, when is displaying a firearm not the right thing to do?
Man, one of the frequent ones that we get that just drives me crazy is something happens and you and I are driving one in front of the other or side by side going down the road, and something happens that one driver feels slighted by the other in some way, and all of a sudden it just begins to boil and get worse and worse and worse. And all of a sudden you have one guy that happens to have a firearm, and all of a sudden they go, I know how to shut this guy up and get him away from me. I'm just going to show him my gun. And that's like the dumbest thing you could ever do. But aside from the fact that it's illegal. So, for me, it's to be the bigger man and take the first exit or the first turn and just disengage and get away. You're mobile, you're in a vehicle, you're locked in, you're safe. So separate yourself from that. That's just a huge thing. And it's so easy to do.
We're not hearing you, Philip. I don't know what happened.
Check
Sorry about that.
check.
Go back. I'll have to re-edit that. Sorry about that, Dan. But I think I started talking about the last 30 seconds.
Yeah,
So-
we didn't hear anything after Rob stopped talking.
I understand. I had my mute on. Okay, so last 30 seconds then. We'll redo here. I think the important part to realize there is that you're not in your home. You don't have a castle doctrine defense to stand upon. You are mobile. And if you're in a vehicle, you have the ability to evade. You have the ability to get off the freeway, as you said, slow down, change lanes, get away from the guy, let them be as crazy as you want. If they're going to chase you, drive to the police station, something of that nature. You're going to need some help. But call 911. If you got a guy who's acting like that, say, hey, call 911. He's on my tail. I need some help. So be smart. Don't be emotional, I think, is the number one key. Folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show. We'll be right back after this. I'm going to make him do a little editing on that clip there. Sorry, Dan. You have to do your work today.
Haha. Always have to do extra work for you. Can you send me the files when we're done? Because Rob sounds fine, but you're breaking up a lot.
Yeah, we end up with, in California, we have slow internet. In Prescott in the mountains, we have fast internet. Go figure.
Yeah, makes sense. There we go. You ready? Here we go.
Spartans, lay down your weapons. Come and get them.
Hey folks, Moulin Lave Saturday. Philip Naiman here. Hope you're having a great day. One of the great things we have on this show are my sponsors, because they provide fantastic stuff for you and me, and they like to give out discounts. As a matter of fact, CCW Safe is the best, in my humble opinion, very humble it is, humble opinion, legal protection service for self-defense. Any use of self-defense that you are in, CCW Safe is going to take a look at for you. And we've got they have a discount code FL Radio 10, FL Radio 10 for 10% off on that. Maglite, we always talk about being prepared. And hey, if you can have one flashlight with 400 hours of continuous use, well, that's Maglite. Firing Line 15 for your discounts there. Cutting Edge Bullets, Firing Line is your discount, 20% off. Firing Line 20 for that, or Firing Line is your discount. And of course, EMP Shield for your vehicles, for your home. If you want to be sure that you don't have lightning or EMP issues, Firing Line is our discount. And occasionally we have Proof Research discount cards. So we've got some great sponsors out here giving stuff out, and Accutac bipods. Okay, now their code's a little different. It's 2022 Firing Line, but still you get 20% off on that. So, and that's a great deal on a great bipod. So check those out. We have opportunities for you to save some money and get some great stuff and great gear. And just want to point that out to you. Brandishing, we don't want to be, let's go brandish. That should not be your motto, right? Let's go Brandon is fine. Let's go brandish is going to get you in a whole lot of trouble. So we need you as free Americans, again, who self-regulate, because that's why we obey the law. We choose to self-regulate, to understand that if we're carrying a firearm and we're introducing it into a situation, we need to make sure that there's a reason for it, that we can defend it. I spoke with Rob earlier in this show about a shooting that happened in a liquor store. Now, we all get to see it. We get to see the guy come in with an AR-15 in a red hoodie and point the gun at the guy, and the guy fire back. Now, that is going to go down to the 10th of a second at the DA's office. And not only that angle, but every other angle of the cameras that they had. And they're going to be able to dissect over months what happened in 3 or 4 seconds at that particular place. So you realize, especially in some of these bigger cities, not just California, but in some of these bigger cities, you realize that the district attorneys have a political agenda that is not friendly to the Second Amendment or American citizens, right? We see this. The Soros-backed DAs is all over the place. They're going to go through that with a fine tooth comb. And that's why you need to make sure that you have protection on your side, because as they're going through everything, looking for one little thing that you might have done wrong in 3 seconds of panic, it's going to hang the rest of your life on it. Rob, how many times have you seen this?
Oh man, I've seen officers charged in this for things that happen in milliseconds. Whether it's right or wrong, it's the way the times are right now. It is such a big deal to understand that a lethal use of force, in my opinion, it's only necessary, it's only acceptable when there's no other options. So yeah, I mean, you have no earthly idea. I mean, we're looking at this guy in the store, and the kid comes in with a long gun, and yeah, that's a huge threat. We also know the destructive power of and how many rounds he'll have access to right there. He can shoot a bunch in a very short period of time, but we don't know, has that kid robbed the old man before? Has he been a problem in the store before? Is there something that's happened previously? And there could be. I mean, the old man may have been victimized by this guy before. It's just all kinds of things that come out later through the investigation that we're sitting here armchair quarterbacking,
right,
and we don't have full access to know all the facts and everything else going in. I get phone calls every time something like that pops up, and people around the country calling because they know my background. They're going, "What are your thoughts on this? What do you think?" I think it's too early to say anything. I don't know. We got to let the facts come out. So,
yeah, I mean, you can, and people judge off of that. And again, Just like when the guy was in the back of the pickup or back of the squad car and the media is in there getting sound bites for him, right? The same thing. You're going to see a video that they choose to put out. It's not the full thing. I mean, if you watch the entire, here we go, getting controversial. If you watch the entire Rodney King incident, the entire video, you'd be like, oh, well, he shouldn't have really attacked the cops 3 times. If you just watch the few seconds that the media put on 24/7 for 6 months, it looks horrid, right? So, the media, especially what's supposed to be investigative journalism, they leave a lot of facts on the floor in the cutting room of the editor to push their agenda. And so when you're seeing something on the news, it may not be what actually happened in full context. Obviously, if it's a real video, that part of it happened, but what happened prior, what happened after, the whole let up, we don't have access to, because they just want to show what's salient. If it bleeds, it leads. What's salient at that point, and they don't really care about that. So this guy who, the 80-year-old in the back of the squad car, so if they made him say something that sounded really good for their thing, but ends up hanging him in court, they don't care. They really don't care. That's a good story in court too. Oh, look, we thought he was innocent, now he's guilty. They're just horrific people. How's that?
Yeah.
Is that fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't bait somebody in that has no earthly idea what the legal ramifications are going to be in this current day and age. Like I said earlier, those guys would have never had access to get a camera and a microphone anywhere close to that car. We'd do a crime scene, and then we do a secondary, and we push it out even further. And the media has to stay behind that secondary line. It's just built there for the safety and security of everybody involved, whether you're a suspect or a witness or a victim or the officers or whatever. It's there for a reason. So,
Well, it's there to also preserve evidence, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like the same reason, if a search warrant is executed, you could either accommodate or with them or have an attorney follow along with that, right? On a search warrant.
Depends on the nature of the warrant and that kind of thing. So
Like if
sometimes
you're looking for National Archives in Florida, then maybe a attorney should have been present with that, since it's obviously not a dangerous bomb making material or firearms that they're looking for, right? So just in general, just kind of bringing some topics up for this week.
it is really concerning, the weaponization of federal law enforcement bureaus.
Mm-hmm. And that's the point here, folks, is you don't know what you don't know. And well, let's take Arizona. All right. Everybody in Prescott, I've been just impressed. There's great people up there. There's so many armed folks. It's crazy. I feel like I don't need to carry a gun because I just get in the way if something happened. There's too many special ops guys retired up there and all that other stuff. But anyway, but let's say that you live in a place like that, and law enforcement's pretty much right on and does the right thing, but you happen to travel down to, I don't know, Phoenix or Tucson or Pima County or one of those radically charged places that we saw, election fraud and all that other stuff happen down there. What if you're down there, which is a far likelier need to defend yourself in a situation like that, or in a place like that? Now you got that crazy DA. You thought you were fine because this is where you live, but where you live doesn't have those problems. It's down the hill where everybody's been too long in the desert without a hat, and they're crazy as loons, and there's bad people down there. So that's probably where you're going to have an issue, and that's where you're going to end up with one of these DAs. If you're in Illinois and you live in the rural parts, not a problem. You cutting through south side, problem, right? Where are the crazy DAs? Where the problems are. LA, same thing. So it's just important that you have coverage wherever you go. And again, CCW Safe, check them out, ccwsafe.com. And we'll talk more about the benefits of what you guys actually do. And when we come back here, folks, Philip Naiman, firelineradio.com. Yeah, I mean, we have Riverside County, we have a really great sheriff, right? He's Second Amendment friendly. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he hates criminals, which is a good thing, I think, if you're a sheriff. But, you know, you go into some of these other counties, they're crazy as loons. LA County wants to get rid of their current sheriff because he started issuing CCWs.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Right. But that's the political agenda that we're living in out here. And it's not just here. And I think that's something that people need to realize is that Oklahoma, you got crazy people in Oklahoma, you know.
Well, it splashes over too. We got that DA in Los Angeles County that lets criminals out. Where do you think they go? They come here. You know?
Yeah, they go to Dan's house. They actually have a bus stop in the driveway.
They come to the Inland Empire and they commit their crimes here. And it's a splashover. We're paying because of whatever, George Soros DA in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he destroyed San Francisco. He's destroying LA.
Yeah.
You know, until there's repercussions in the ballot box and they are out of office, we get what we deserve, man. That's what we're looking at. All right, let's pick it up last section.
Okay.
Rob's got to get going.
Here we go.
Yes! Great hunter. Yes? Fine figure of a man. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
That is all you need to know for now.
Hey, folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show. Joining me back here, I have Rob High of CCW Safe. We do a podcast weekly for CCW Safe. It's actually called the CCW Safe Podcast. So it's kind of a marketing trick we use there. But I enjoy it every week. We have a great time. We talk about these issues all the time. We dissect shootings. We dissect different parts of that, and that's found at ccwsafe.com. While you're there, you probably should really take a look at the service, even if you don't have a CCW. All right. Even if you don't have a permit, you still need the service, especially in a state like California or the crazy parts of Arizona or Nevada, or, you know, anywhere you have a crazy DA, which, folks, is everywhere. Everywhere you have a highly likely place of using a firearm, you probably have a crazy DA. And crazy is being nice. Anyway, Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about what CCW Safe does as far as coverage is concerned?
Well, number one, we've got the best team in the entire industry. Don West is our national trial counsel.
Incident, and you're actually incident investigators.
Yeah, sure. Gary Eastridge is a retired homicide investigator. He was also more than 10 years the chief investigator for the district attorney's office in Oklahoma County in Oklahoma, and just has decades of experience. He started his law enforcement career in the 70s. He's got a brilliant mind, and he is our critical response team manager. If you're involved in an incident that involves serious bodily injury or death, you're probably going to have Gary or myself standing beside you within the first 24 hours. We actually have a boots on the ground response. We can kind of help you understand the process and the things that are getting ready to happen, and the sequence of events that are going to be filling your life for the next few months, probably. But a membership with us covers you completely in any of your trials, whether it's a criminal trial or a civil trial, and it's completely paid upfront by us. People don't understand, but a self-defense incident, if there's anything that looks a little out of place and they wind up filing a charge on you, like an aggravated assault or shooting with intent, something like that, or even a death occurs. Yeah. Those are going to be investigated fully. That firearm is a very serious deal. And to have somebody that can help you through and understand what the next steps coming are, to help you understand that you're not the only one that's affected in that thing. Your family members are going to be affected. Those around you are going to be affected. So whether it's a criminal case or a civil case, we pay all of those costs with no limit. And that is incredibly, incredibly comforting to have that kind of coverage. Most people don't know that a serious shooting like that, your defense costs are going to start at about $300,000 and escalate.
Yeah, I don't think there's been one under $1 million, right? And that's hard dollar costs, under $1 million, because you need the special investigators, right?
Yeah, and we come with that. We've got investigators that are going to be helping you. We've got expert witnesses, crime scene reconstructionists if we need them, jury consultants if we're going to a jury trial. You know, you want to make sure that we get the most favorable jury selected for this. Sean Vincent is our guy for that, and he is the best in the country.
He is.
It really is a full meal deal. You get everything that you need, including if they burst into your home and you had this crazy thing that they're doing a home invasion robbery on you and your family, and you shoot the person. We even cover the crime scene cleanup. That's not something you want to have to deal with. That's horrible. Aside from the fact that it's a biohazard. So yeah, we get everything, including if there was a guilty verdict, we immediately start the appeals process. That's just all inclusive. That's not an additional fee. You don't have to pay us back for the first trial cost. It's just part of what we offer.
And you say that because there are some plans out there that come back. If you're found guilty, they want all their money back. They'll sue you for the money. So not only are you guilty, but they're coming back after that. There's others that have limits. We'll cover you 100% up to this limit, or you put in this much and then we'll start paying. Or it's you pay for all of it, and if you're found innocent, we'll pay you back. Well, if you don't have an extra $1 million sitting around to pay attorneys, that's going to be a little difficult for you. So CCW Safe covers that right up front. You don't come out of pocket, right? Your life is going to be in turmoil enough. You don't have to worry about that part. They're on your side, and it's very inexpensive. You can get a family plan, which covers everybody living in your home. Even if you don't have a CCW, you should still have that, because your homeowner's insurance will not cover you on a shooting for a home invasion. Here's what I'm talking about. Homeowners insurance, most of them have an exclusion for something you've done willfully. So they ask you, the 14 guys that were kicking in your front door and you went to your closet and got your AR-15 home defense system and you fired at them, were you trying to hit them? You say, well, yeah, I'm trying to hit them because I'm defending my life. They say, well, that was a willful act. We're not covering it. So if you say, well, I accidentally kicked over my rifle and it on its own, as all black rifles do, took over and started shooting people, then maybe you'll get coverage. But good luck with that one too.
Yeah, that's a good point, Phil. They have those loopholes and means to exclude themselves, and a willful act is exactly that. The other thing that a lot of people don't think about, there's another provider out there that will just cut you a check. They'll look at the facts, they look at everything going on, and they're just going, oh, okay, well, here, Phil, we're going to cut you a check for
you figure it out.
Do you know who to call? Do you know what kind of expert do you need? Do you know what kind of investigator you need? Just hiring a defense attorney is not good enough. I need somebody that understands self-defense law, because we're not going to go in there and try to throw a bunch of crap at the jurors and say, no, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. We're going to go in there and say, yeah, we did this. But we
That's
did
that's
defensive
a great point we should talk about. If you use the self-defense stance, it's an admission of the act.
Yeah.
You can't say it wasn't me. It was self-defense, but it wasn't me, right? If you say I acted in self-defense, it's an admission that I fired the rounds that put said bad guy into the local dump, which is where he should be. But it's an admission. And so you can't backpedal. You can't say self-defense unless found guilty, then I didn't do it.
Well, and I can't be the aggressor. I can't be the fire starter. I can't start an altercation and then go, oh, by the way, I had to kill him to defend myself.
Right.
I started that. I was the aggressor. That's not self-defense. So we're
And
covering.
it's not a good idea.
No, it's terrible. Just be the bigger person. That's the easy way. And like I'd said at the very beginning of the show, how would you respond to this if you didn't have a firearm?
I think maybe the motto should be don't be a wiener.
I think that one's already used. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, this is Salem radio, so we have to switch things up a bit. But yeah, it's true. It's if your mindset's going to determine how all this plays out from not all cases, right? I mean, how many times we've seen a guy pumping gas, not looking around, and from the shadows, 3 or 4 guys come up, right? They are set on that intent. That's a whole different situation. But the one that most people run afoul of is the temper. Guy cut me off, fingers fly, right? Especially if it's a Prius. I think it's actually legal to flip off a Prius. I think it's mandated. Yeah. Anyway, whole nother subject. But tempers fly, and it's controlling that temper from the beginning that can save you from so many other angles, especially if you're carrying a firearm. Because if you're carrying a firearm, you've ratcheted up your level of responsibility. You are going to be held at a higher standard, not just on this radio show, but in a court of law. You introduce that in here, especially in a place like California, where so many people are not carrying firearms. If you did it, you have a higher level of responsibility. And that's why we want to make sure that everybody is covered with that. So folks, I want to thank my special guest, Rob High, CCW Safe. Again, check out our podcast, ccwsafe.com. We have a great time with that. And thank you for all you do, my friend. I know you're busy today, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
All right. God bless.
It's almost a show.
Almost.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say don't be a dick, so we can run that right. That should be it. Maybe it'll be on the next version of my shirt. It's Firearm Radio Show. Don't be a dick.
I guess I don't find any of that humorous, just so you know.
You don't find many things humorous, just so you know.
Well, you son of a bitch. You almost got me fired, and I'm not going to get fired over you.
I didn't. That would be the editors from Prescott. So, no. All right, Dan.